But so I said to the treatment coordinator, I need help now. I'm struggling today. I don't know, like 5 months from now, if this were a broken bone, it would heal crooked, and that I
Mm.
don't want that to be the case for my mental health. And she very flatly said to me, well, I don't deal with emergencies, and hung up. And that was the last I'd heard from her, um, which is tough. And I don't think that response is reflective of the whole system, but it was definitely a tough moment for me in feeling like, so is that a dead end to my care? What do I do?
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to Neff Inspiration, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stephan Neff. Another fantastic day for an interview. And today I've got a wonderful guest. I've got Gabrielle Bovard with me. Gabrielle is a woman, she's a fellow traveler who is out there to try to make this world a better place. And whilst we often enough focus on the underlying root causes for behaviors, etc., today we're actually focusing on the system or the systems that are available or not available for that matter out there to help other people. Because it's all quite nice for us here to bring wonderful people on, but if you can't access them, then you're knee deep in shit. And Gabrielle indeed found herself in exactly that situation. And she found the systems very wanting. So she decided to explore that more and has written a book about her experiences out there called Waiting Room, soon to be released. And Waiting Room describes what happens when people don't get access to timely mental health care. Gabrielle, welcome to my show.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. Great to meet you.
Wow. First of all, I already want to say I'm feeling for you that you felt that you had to write this book, because that means that there was a lot of darkness there and that there was a lot of pain there that led you into that situation. Are you happy to share a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, when we're going through hard things, it's so easy to feel like, well, I'm the only person in the world going through this. I'm so alone. I don't want to talk about this with anyone because heaven forbid my fellow humans find out that I have flaws and I'm not okay. And so, really, where I was when all of this started was exactly there. So, if you're ever feeling that, like solidarity, you're not alone. And I was at the time, I was going through a very unexpected, very difficult breakup. I was reconciling with a lot of the childhood things that I'd gone through and traumas in my life, and starting to think like, wow, all this stuff, like when one bad thing happens, all the dominoes are falling down, everything's popping up. And it's like, what's going on with me? I feel awful. And I was trying to control the uncontrollable at the time. I was trying to find ways to feel safe by holding on to a life that isn't meant to be held on to. And so as I was doing a lot of this, I thought to myself, I know what I'll do. I'll do the right thing. I will go and find myself therapy, and I will get myself into a program that will make all of this go away. Because, wouldn't that be nice? All we have to do is just go somewhere and they can rewind the tape and we'll be back to great again. So that's really where it started.
Brilliant. Oh, that's wonderful. And then you just picked up the phone and you actually just nipped down there, walking distance, walked in. People showered you with love, empathy, understanding, took you in their arms, and everyone was happy ever after.
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly how it works. So it's a short book. It's a one-pager.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, now move away from the fairy tales.
Yeah.
How did it really
So
work?
my happily ever after did not happen that way. So what happened is I had been seeing a therapist for a couple of months and telling her, so I'm trying to figure out what's going right in my life. And it seems that people are in better moods with me when I drink out of this red mug. So I drink out of the red mug every day. And I've noticed that when I hang my bath towels striped side out, I have better days. So now I'm going to hang the towels that way. And she got up in the middle of the session, and I'm thinking, I've never had a therapist bolt on me. Like, I thought I was doing a great job. And she walks out of the room. She comes back with something that looks, honest to goodness, like a dictionary. It's just this giant book. And she said, this is a diagnostic and statistic manual. And I'm opening it to this page. And does any of this sound familiar? And she starts talking about, obsessing over certain details and feeling compulsions to act on these obsessions so that your life will be in more order. And I was like, yeah, that actually sounds like somebody wrote about me. That's pretty funny. And she said, I think you have OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. And my jaw dropped. I didn't want to be diagnosed with something. I just wanted somebody to say, like, you're doing great and send me out the door feeling better. But at the same time, I felt a little bit of safety there. Like, okay, so there's the label for this. So that means I go to the pharmacy and I get a thing and I feel better. And her response to that was, actually, I don't treat OCD. That's something very specialized. And I think that you would be better off seeing somebody who specializes in it. And so I'm wondering, okay, who is this? Who is this special person? I can't wait to meet them. She tells me that there is a treatment coordinator that will help me. And I'm thrilled. I'm talking with this treatment coordinator. I'm telling her I work remotely. I have great insurance benefits, which is a huge deal in the United States. And so I can travel anywhere. I can afford through my insurance, basically anything. What can I do? And she's like, this is great. I can find you something right away. And so I'm having a terrible day. One day the phone rings. It's the treatment coordinator. She says to me, I found you a place, and I'm thrilled. And then she tells me it is in a city 8 hours away from my home. Not ideal, but I can deal with that. But the next available opening is in 5 months. That's the next time I can see a provider. So that's the best we can do. And man, was that rock bottom.
That's a hard blow, of course, because, well, but you've pointed it out so elegantly and beautifully. This expectations. Yeah, I want it right now, and I want a pill, and I want to be fixed, please. You have just described the typical expectations of virtually everyone out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe there were a bit of challenging expectations, and maybe some skewed core beliefs, waiting to be explored. But then also
we can laugh now.
touche. But at the same token, also one has to say that OCD is quite a specialized issue. You can't just treat all mental health conditions in the same way, in the same fashion. And I think there is clearly there was a wisdom there to actually not just send you to someone who does a little bit of something and calls it treatment, but actually to try to give you the proper care that you deserve. So I think let's be positive for the system. It's the same as if you have got and whilst OCD is not incredibly rare, let's say you've got a very rare autoimmune disease, where really, there are maybe 100 people around the world. Well, your normal GP might have not even heard about it. Okay, so whilst this is a bit of an extreme comparison, it's a little bit going down that road. Okay, wow. So what happened thereafter?
Yeah, so, and I should preface all of this by saying I am not an expert. In case you haven't picked up on that yet, I am a patient. So I don't have a license. I can't practice. I'm not a doctor or a therapist. So take all of this from there. But so I said to the treatment coordinator, I need help now. I'm struggling today. I don't know, like 5 months from now, if this were a broken bone, it would heal crooked, and that I don't want that to be the case for my mental health. And she very flatly said to me, well, I don't deal with emergencies, and hung up. And that was the last I'd heard from her, which is tough. And I don't think that response is reflective of the whole system, but it was definitely a tough moment for me in feeling like, so is that a dead end to my care? What do I do? And then being a writer, my writer hat came on, and I thought, wait a second, I have really great resources to get care. And I had the flexibility to go anywhere. And still, the best treatment option for me was in 5 months, 8 hours away. What do people do in underserved parts of the country? And then this idea just exploded in my head. I need to go find these people, and I want to find out how they are coping without access to care. What is working for them? Because they need help as well. And maybe they have some secrets that they figured out in their own grassroots way.
How cool is that? Because
Yeah.
it's one thing that we talk about access in the sense of remoteness, in the sense of availability. But often enough, these resources are available. But the monetary restraints, especially, let's say for you, you've just gone into an unexpected breakup. I'm going through a divorce. Suddenly, money is actually tight. And there are moments when you think, oh my God, so food versus mental health care. What should we go for? So if it comes to that, it might very well be that that holds you back. Wow. So and there might be other reasons that stop us seeking the care that we really need and probably deserve. So what did you do? Did you literally jump in a car and start knocking on doors?
There was a little research that went into it at first because I had to know for sure, am I imagining this care gap or is this a real thing? And I started, searching like consumer searches. I went on to Google. Sometimes I would go onto Google Maps and I would find the most random little remote towns. And then I would type in therapist near and that pin. And in some cases, I was finding that you would have to drive 4 or 5 hours to find the nearest therapist. And I'm thinking, well, okay, if I work, that's 4 hours there, 50 minutes in session, 4 hours home. I've missed the entire workday. That's never going to be doable. I don't have enough paid time off to do that.
Exactly.
So the research part of it was fascinating. And then start to think of, specific needs, like at the time, considering that I wanted care for OCD, well, that limits the pool quite a bit, or care for minorities. That was another one, or care that accepts the insurance offered through Medicare, Medicaid. There are so many limitations that I was just astounded. Like, it's very hard to find a therapist in general that you click with, but then that also meets all your location requirements and insurance requirements, really narrows the pool.
And whilst you have been referring to sort of the 9-to-5 jobs, there are many jobs that are restricting in their own way. Let's say farmers who need to milk their cows in the morning and in the afternoon. So therefore, you can't actually just nip out down there for 5 hours. It just doesn't work like that. And we see that certainly here in New Zealand, where there is quite a lot, where there are quite a lot of farmers, unfortunately, taking their life due to the mixture of external pressures, lack of coping mechanisms, remoteness, and despair, really.
Yeah.
So there are many situations that you can imagine and that are actually happening as we speak, as we are talking here. So, wow. Okay. So how did you go about meeting those people, though?
Yeah. So then once I felt, I had some idea of where I was going to travel first. And admittedly, I wanted to go to Appalachia. It's a mountainous region of the United States. It's where I was born and raised. And I thought at the time, I'm thinking, I really kind of wish they would just recall me for parts because this isn't working. I'm not okay. But I thought if they won't do that, maybe if I go back to the factory, back to the place where I'm from, then I can get a factory reset. I can find out the why behind how I am and, how I ended up this way. So I started in the car, got in the car, didn't exactly have any plans for who I would meet. I had some places where I would stay sketched out, but I drove to these places, parked my car, walked into coffee shops, and just started talking to people. I'm not from here. I'm an author. I'm writing a book, and I'm going through a really tough time. How do you cope? And it's fascinating.
Excellent.
Yeah, I met so many incredible people because there are the people who are excited to meet a stranger and they want to talk and they're like, this is really cool. I can't wait. And then there are also the people who are, sort of like you said, they're isolated, they're remote, they're, farming in these types of communities that don't have the access. And they're like, oh, wow, someone came to us. That doesn't happen. Like, I can't wait to talk to this person. Even though I go in saying I have no answers, they're like, well, wait, let's collaborate.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. And it just shows that the opposite to mental health problems is connection. To actually
Yes.
come together in a community, because nowadays everyone wants to put up this beautiful mask to show that, oh yeah, I'm cool. Whatever your mask is, you don't want that others know that things are not right. And by being vulnerable, that is often seen as a weakness in society. And it's certainly over I don't know how long now in history. For men, that is absolutely true. For women, not much better. For children, you're supposed to be heard, seen, not heard.
Right.
It's all that crap. We don't talk about things. And here you are offering suddenly authenticity, vulnerability,
Yes.
and you were modeling a behavior that is so refreshing, and that must have been like a ray of sunshine into the lives of these people who were living to a certain degree in their own darkness, often with their own horrendous backstories that has caused their own suffering. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. It's fascinating because these conversations are always so close to the surface for us, and we hate to admit they're there, so we hide them. But it's like the before and afters. I should have really done a photo series of before talking to people and after talking with people, because once they get those secrets off their chests, they
Yeah.
float. It's fantastic. Like, I was speaking with, at one point, an older couple, senior citizens, retired, seemingly happy. And we got into a conversation, and the wife looks at the husband and she said, I've lived my whole life looking in the mirror, calling myself a mean name that my mother called me once as a child. And she said it one time, and it has stuck with me over and over and over again. And I looked at her, I'm like, I do the same thing, the exact same thing. And it's wild because we don't tell people in our lives that this is happening, because heaven forbid they find out that we're still holding on to something we heard when we were 6, but we're all doing it.
Wow. Wow. Oh, you're so right. This is, and that is, but that is normal. I would say that's what, 80, 90? I would say close to 100%. So everyone
Yeah,
out there is doing it. For
everyone.
some of us, it's okay. For some of us, it is, however, such a huge amount of weight on our shoulders that really stops all creativity, stops all our opportunities, even if they are sitting straight in front of us. We are too afraid
Mhm.
of failure. We are too afraid of to being an imposter. And oh my God, if they find out that I'm actually faking it or whatever, it is such a bizarre conundrum. Wow. So
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
you here you are. You were actually looking out for situations where people say, "Oh, really, I'm struggling and I need help and I'm searching for access." What you really found was a willingness to connect and to be open. Is that not true?
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's such a bizarre thing, because I went out there thinking, like, I'm going to be an author. I can be detached from my subject, which is sort of ultimately me. Like, I'm the one that needs to heal, but I'll talk about other people healing. and and so it felt sort of like this will be a safe vantage. I can do this for a little while. But what I didn't realize is that it was changing my life very slowly, peeling away all the things that were holding me back and that were hurting me. And it's a wild thing. It's also an evolution of when I was 14, I started something called Random Note Project that took off over the globe. And it's essentially where I was writing these kind words, these messages of inspiration on little slips of paper and hiding them everywhere in the universe, like library books, taping them to light posts. Everywhere I went, there were notes. And it was really, I was so hurt as a 14-year-old, like every teenager, just going through that, like, where do I fit in this world, feeling really low. And I looked around to the adults like, okay, who has the answers? Who's happy? What can I do to be okay? And everyone seemed sad. And so I'm like, well, if all I have to look forward to is stress, that's not good. I guess I'll be the change and write these words that I long to hear on scraps of paper and hide them. And somewhere like halfway through writing the book, it occurred to me that I was actually like writing the Random Note Project book. It's like, this has been my mission all along. And I didn't realize it until I'm about to finish the last sentence of the book. And it's like, oh, wait. So it's funny how we are meant to heal as human beings. And there are specific steps to take to do it, sure, but it's one of those things, no matter how much you try to hold yourself underwater, you're going to pop right back up toward healing. It's what's going to happen.
You are kidding me. That you are the source of the Random Note Project.
I am.
I was aware of it. I had seen it happening in the past.
Right.
Absolutely. And I've never
amazing.
seen a note, but I knew about the concept and I knew about that someone had done it out there. And now I'm sitting here with the person who actually had started it. Oh, beautiful.
Guilty.
Oh,
Yes.
Gabrielle. Okay, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. Surprise.
But here you are. I mean, it is,
Yeah.
you started healing others long before you realized that you needed to heal yourself.
Mhm.
You felt the pain, but you didn't know how to access the treatment or the help. You didn't get the help at the time. And I guess your mind was too confused. That's what a
Oh, for
14-year-old is.
Yeah.
Having said that, I mean, nowadays, my boys, when they were 14, they ended up, one of them bullied and one of them not
Mm.
happy. They saw their school nurses, and they were very lovely counselors slash nurses slash, and they helped them a lot. Was there actually any help available to you when you were
At the
14?
time, yeah, at the time it was challenging. I was afraid, honestly, to ask for the help that I needed. I was afraid to admit that I was hurt by things that had happened to me in the past. I was afraid that if I spoke those
Mm.
things out loud, that it would ruin my entire family and social circle. And so I thought, best thing I can do is to just keep my head down and hope that things magically disappear in the future. And they don't. Spoiler alert, they come back up. You go through a breakup and then suddenly you're rearranging your bathroom towels thinking that that's going to be the thing to change it.
Okay. Now, may I ask, were you actually rearranging the towels prior to your breakup? Were there
No.
OCD traits there?
No, and it's funny because fast forward many, many months into the future, I've written the book. I'm seeing another therapist, and I said to her, I was like, I have a confession. While I was on the road, I wasn't having obsessions or compulsions. And she explained to me, like, hey, actually, trauma can really do things to your brain and pull out these like latent tendencies toward mental illness that may not actually be, a diagnosis you wear every day. And it was just
Beautiful.
mind blowing. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
Because here you are, because often enough we get a label and we start identifying with it. And we don't say we have that disease, that condition. We are that condition. And
Yes.
taking it on and wearing it as a safety blanket sometimes, I mean,
Absolutely.
it is, to have a diagnosis can actually confirm your victim role and keep you there rather than what happened to you. You tried to figure out what's happening. So from a dream, you did research, and then it became a vision. It became crystal clear what you needed to do, and then you took action. and then became a mission. So here you
Yes,
were changing away from the victim role, and suddenly magic happened. And that is
absolutely.
mind blowing. I love it.
Yeah. And I think, especially on social media lately, labels are everywhere.
Ah,
Take this quiz. Do you have ADHD? Do you
correct.
have, do you live on the autism spectrum somewhere? And
Mm,
I think sometimes it's helpful to find community in those labels, but I hate to just stand by it and say, well, this explains me. So that's
ah,
it. That's who
yeah,
I am. End of sentence.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
think, and I love it. I love it the way you say that, because there is certainly a tendency of people to find their niche of victimhood and uh, finally become someone when
Yes.
maybe previously they were wondering, who am I? Now at least they can say, see, I'm a victim of choose your poison or your mental health problem. When you started your journey, you thought that you can help others. And by focusing on others, maybe to a certain degree, it helps you to heal. Well, when you went back to the grassroots, what did you actually find?
Yeah.
How did other people cope? And of course, there are all the negative coping mechanisms. No doubt you found some of them, but what was actually working for them?
Sure. Yeah. And it was unfortunate. A lot of, what I did find were negative coping mechanisms. Substance use is running rampant in our world today because that's, it's something to help cope with some of these mental health and emotional health issues that we can't find appropriate care for. So what I did find, it's interesting, is first and foremost, it seems so basic, safety. You've got to get yourself to safety. And when we think about that, we tend to think of it as a physical thing, like, yes, I am free from danger. But it's so much more than that. It's also being able to tell yourself, like, hey, I've created a hospitable environment within myself where I can experience emotions and I won't judge myself for it. So if I feel angry, I don't call myself, an angry person. If I feel sad, I'm not, oh, so down all the time. It's important to give yourself that space and
Mm,
also to learn how to self-soothe and to say, like, okay, so I am feeling this. What do I do with it that's healthy and productive?
mm, mm,
So the people that I found who were doing the best had a really good sense of safety for themselves, how to get there. And once that was in place, it it worked out really well. So the book is called Waiting Room, and I found the acrostic WAIT actually works really well. So W being welcome, A being acknowledge, I being investigate, and T being teamwork. And so to lead through what this actually ended up being was I found that the people who are healing and healthy and doing their best, even in the absence of care, they welcome these challenges in their life. They say, like, okay, yeah, like I went through something really tough. This I can feel. It hurts. It's super hard. I hate it in so many ways. But also, what can I learn about this? Like, how can
mm,
I get curious with this? And what does this say about myself, about what works for me, what doesn't work for me? And really leaning into that curiosity. And then
mm,
from there, starting to make sense of it, starting to say, like, okay, yeah, this might be something I don't want in my future, in my life. This might be something that I do. And there's not really a label for it. This is just what's working and what's not working. And it doesn't have to say, it's not working because I have this label, or it's not working because I am this way. It's just, this doesn't work for me because I'm a human and I get to have these opinions. Um, and it was fantastic to see that. And then to really integrate that into their lives and to start to live that truth shamelessly, saying, this is what I need and this is what I ask for. These are my boundaries. Then they started to build these colossal teams. And let me tell you, the teamwork is fantastic. I met people who had been fostering and adopting hundreds of children who just needed help and needed out of bad situations. I met people who were extraordinarily kind to animals, people who were saving their communities and providing hope and healing for people in just far spread out places. And it's fantastic because it's not just like, yeah, I have my people and they help me when I'm in need, or I help them when I'm in need.
Mm,
It's, I have people and I see them and I know them and they see me and they know me. And so we have this community where no matter what, I feel held among other people. And leaving the road trip, I eventually had to come home. I'm home now. And there's this sense of like, I need that in my life. Like everybody needs that in their lives.
beautiful, beautiful. You're quite right. You're quite right. There is this sense of belonging on the one hand, but also the service to others, which is such a beautiful, beautiful thing to do. And that's what often also people who are thriving after trauma, or um, who are now in sobriety following whatever addiction or challenge they have been facing, and who are now out there, they are trying to make sense of their suffering, and in turn often end up giving back to the community, either as part of making amends, or and in a very constructive way, or just because they feel that service to others is such a beautiful part of our lives, and that it can really be so wonderful to put a smile on someone's face. And you can,
Absolutely.
and you have done that with your post-it notes. We all can do it, and we have forgotten how to do it. And it
Yeah.
doesn't take much when you're at a checkout of a supermarket, and to actually say something really nice to the checkout girl or boy, and say, "Oh wow, hey, you look really good today," um, and just something like that, and suddenly they're standing there
Yeah.
gobsmacked, because they don't realize, and who are you and why are you telling me that? They might be
Yeah.
scared, or they might hate to have a compliment, but still, actually, it is the chances are you're making their day.
Definitely. Yeah. And I mean, a lot of times people say, like, well, I don't even know what I would say. And it's, what do you need to hear? Because the thing we forget is that we are all so connected. Every human being, our experiences, though they differ, are still so similar in so many ways. Our emotions, the range is really only so wide. We all
Yeah,
know what it's like to be angry, sad, happy, all of it. So it's really easy to connect with people if you just start where you are.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Wow. I didn't see that coming, Gabrielle. You're an amazing woman. You're out
Thank
there
you.
to change the world. You've started with this beautiful project, and your book is hopefully soon out there for other people to be inspired, really. So, what will happen to you now
What
that
will
you
happen
have
to me?
what you have now completed this project? But I think you have tasted blood. Yeah. So you're now saying, okay, this was cool. How else? What else are you planning to do?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So, I mean, I'm definitely, my life is now completely devoted to kindness and humanity, and it's my favorite thing in the world, and I will champion it until everybody is so sick of hearing it because it's ingrained in their lives. So, will I write another book? Likely, yes, but you know, you'll see me out there in 1,000 different ways,
Beautiful.
making kindness happen. Also, I realized, like, wait a second, I am lucky that I got to travel the
Yeah,
country. Not everybody can just throw everything in a car and say, well, let's go, let's see. So I started waitingroomcommunity.com. And from there, I plan to build a community where we can all encourage each other and support each other through this crazy thing of life.
beautiful. And guys, look down there into the description of Gabrielle's podcast and video, because all her details are there. But for those of us listening and they can't look quickly down, where can they find you?
Yes. Okay. Find me on Instagram at Gabrielle Bovard _author. And then you can also find me at waitingroomcommunity.com, at gabriellebovard.com. I definitely encourage you to sign up for my newsletter. It's once a month. You're not going to get spam, but it's a great way to connect with events, with finding out when the book gets released. Also, for those who are interested, when you sign up, you can sign up for the waiting room community and you get access to some curated essays to help you. They're all written by me, help you with life in the meantime until the book comes out.
Beautiful. Gabrielle, you're an amazing woman. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
putting smiles on people's faces and for trying to make this world a better place. The world clearly needs it right now,
We
and
do.
it's wonderful to connect with you. So look after yourself, okay?
Thank you. It's great to connect with you as well.
Absolutely. And you guys out there, look after yourself and live with intention, eh? Bye.
Bye, everyone.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.